All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer. Um, Today I'm going to be furthering the topic of Satanism and your journey into Satanism, demonic sorceries, and black magic. Now, I covered a lot of topics within my last video on this topic, and so I'd like to actually break down some other things, some other topics that are a topic of great debate within the mundane world. That of, say, for example, the Hebraic systems, that of the way the populace of the world views Satanism. Okay. Now, one of the topics that surrounds Satanism is that a Satanist is an individual who dresses in black 24/7, committing tremendous or atrocious type criminal activities, okay, such as robbing graves from, say, for an example, destruction of graveyards, vandalism at churches, stuff like that, but also into other arenas of criminal activities. Okay. So today I really want to get into this, but I also want to get into another very serious topic. Okay. Which is the path of a Satanist, especially once you went from being an acolyte into an adept and begin your actual transformation. Now, the first thing is Satanists don't have to wear black all the time. We can wear anything from say, for example, what I'm wearing right now: a white shirt, blue jeans, white socks. You can wear blue, black, red. It doesn't really matter. Clothing really doesn't matter, in your day-to-day activities or socialisms. The only time a Satanist wears black is when we enter the ritual chamber, the outer and inner sanctum. Okay. Now, the reason for this is because of the fact that it's a matter of honor. It is a matter of privilege, but it's also a matter of respect when you approach the fallen angels, when you approach the demonic lords. Okay, those demons that we deal with within our practices, the ones that we build up relationships with. Okay, it's a sign that we are there and we are serious about building those relationships, that we are serious about the rituals and the magics. It is a ritual attire because black is a symbolization of the abyssal flame, the black flame of Satan, the black flame of Azazel, the black flame of Emma Iman, okay, or that of Ryman himself, Azazel, whatever name that you want to take and make that is actually associated with the Dark Lord himself. Okay. The second thing is that Satanism has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the Hebraic systems. A lot of people today are actually combining religions, and they're trying to make it their own. They're trying to start up something new, but all they're ending up doing is creating more duality, more divisions, more separations, and they're not really rising above the mundane thought forms of adversities, divisions, and the things that separate us as individuals. And instead, they're clumping us all, everybody, into factions. Okay. Such as, for an example, in the Muslim community, you have the more modern day radical group, which is now which is a terrorist group that took the name of the Egyptian goddess of witchcraft, the mother of witchcraft, Isis. Okay. This has nothing to do with these idiots going around committing atrocities. This is a cult, nothing more. Um, whereas the actual deitas, the Egyptian goddess, was one of nurture. She was much in the same mannerism as Hathor, the mother of all the gods. Okay, much like Hera in Greek mythology, or Frey, or Phrygia in Norse mythology. Okay, there's a story of a mother goddess in just about every pantheon that you go out and find or can practice. So you really want to take that into consideration. Now there are three aspects of sorceries. Okay, that I'll get into in just a moment, because the other aspect of the first is criminal activities. Okay, Christians will tell you that Satanism is very big business. Okay, that it is a business of criminal empire. It is serving their version of what Satan is, the opposer, the adversary. And a lot of people don't really realize that if you go back into the Old Testament, the earliest manifestations of Satan in the Bible literally is in Second Chronicles, with Jeremiah wrestling with his angel. Okay, when you get into the book of Job, Satan is the one who's on God's side. He is the one that accuses mankind of being not right to their God. Okay, this is towards the Israelites. Okay, which are now known as the Hebrews. Okay, but if you actually took the time to look at the region that the terminology of Satan comes from, the origin, such as the Hebrew meaning, Satan. Satan means accuser, okay? Whereas El Shaitan in Islam, within the Quran, means opposer, okay? Judaism is another translation of it, okay? And this is why the Hebraic systems of Islam, Christian, Catholic, um, even you know, all these other lesser forms such as Jehovah Witnesses and what do they call those little monk people there that live in the Amish? There we go, the Amish. Because you got the Jewish belief systems. You have the Hebrew systems. You have Christian, Catholic, and then you have the offshoots of that, which are from Kingdom Hall. You have the Jehovah Witnesses, and then you have some other traditions that are associated with Christianity. Okay, so therefore they all have their own variation and take on what and who Satan is. But if you actually do your homework, number one, Satan is not a Christian invention. His myth actually goes back to the 10th century, the late Dark Ages, where he is shown depicted as standing on Mount Hinnom with his giant black wings stretched outward, okay, with every order of angels hanging off them. He is a Gregori, a watcher angel, and he never left the service of the gods. Okay, this is why a lot of sorcerers today don't really go by the utilization of Satan. Okay, you can sit there in a ritual and say Satan's name. You can go out and say Lucifer's name. But let's take Lucifer for an example. Where's his origins come from? This is a Roman deitas, a Roman deity. Okay, he's known as an archangel. He's associated with the planet Venus within astrology. Okay, Venus is the first planet to rise in the east, and it sets in the west. Okay. This can be found in the Babylonian lore, the Sumerian lore, the Mesopotamian lores. Okay. Where through the Necromaicon of Simon or that of the Mad Arab, you can see just in pages 7 through 10 or 7 to 12 just how the zodiac signs of Aquarius, for an example, all the turmoil and devastations normally start around the 15th of January, which is also known as the rainy seasons around that region. But it also stops around the 18th. Okay, so you got a 3-day window there. The Mad Arab, for an example, began his journey on the 19th, which was at the end of this. Okay, now we know that through this, the Babylonian lore, the Babylonian myths, is that Venus was around the time, sets in the west around the 15th of January. But then again, it rises around the same time, around the 15th and 18th of February. Okay, this is the era of Aquarius and Sagittarius. Okay, just before you're getting into Aries, the first of the zodiac, the Ram, which is in March. Okay, so we know that he actually started after this fact. Okay, and it was soon after this. This is how the equinoxes came to be, because it became associated with the gods, which are now known as the pagan gods, the demons, the angels, and the jinn that is associated with these regions. And this is heavily influenced, and it became known as the times of the seasons, the equinoxes, and the solstices, okay, which can be viewed within the Chaldeans, which later became known as the Canaanites in the Old Testament of the Bible. Okay, so right here you're seeing a little bit of a mythology here and a little history lesson. Okay, so Christianity did not create Satan. They did not create Lucifer. Catholicism took a deity and utilized its meaning within their own language, just like the Babylonians did, just like the Mesopotamians did, just like the Akkadians in the Syriac. And depending on which language, if it's Arabic, Aramaic, Greek, Hebrew, okay, Babylonian, Sumerian, okay, you're going to have a different definition of what this individual's name and purpose is. Okay, so they did not create Satan. They did not create Lucifer. This is what was around long before Christianity. Okay, but here's another thing. Before Satan, before Christianity and Catholicism even was heard of, was even thought of to be a creation in the womb, you have the Zoroastrianism god, Orion, the dark god, the beast that ripped open Ahura Mazda's womb. You know, in the myth of Ahura Mazda and Orion, okay, the mad god versus the dark god, okay, the overall god, you know, bore children, 2 of them. And he promised that all the power of the universe would go to the firstborn. And it turned out to be Orion, because he ripped through the womb. He ripped through the stomach walls, the linings, and just came into existence first so that he could have that power. He took that power. That is a sign of power. Okay, that's a sign of true leadership, that true form of, I want it, I will have it, I'm going to take it. Okay, Orion is a symbolization of the dark abyssal, all the desires, all the arcane secrets of sorcery, not being feared, not being afraid to take what you want, not being afraid to do what is necessary to gain that power. Okay, now this is where a lot of people get a lot of things wrong, and it is up to you as an individual on what you want to believe. But I would recommend that you get into mythology. I recommend that you get into history and see how they line up with your thought forms and what you're being taught. Okay? Because in today's world, people are being taught that Satanism is about criminal activities. Okay? For an example, when I was down in Texas, I went to open up a clinic, a ministry, okay, through my order, okay, and they would not permit that because it is in the Bible Belt. It is considered religious discrimination according to the United States constitutional rights, okay, but also the legal rights that can be filed through the Department of Justice in the American Civil Liberties Union. Now, I've touched on this in the past, but I'm not going to get into it. The moral of the point is that a lot of people will twist things into their own perspective and will not stick to the actual fact because they're afraid to delve into the knowledge, to delve into the mythologies and the histories. Instead, they want to believe what they're told at face value, and that is what they go by. This is what they're based on. And it's not just in the Bible Belt, it is all over the world. Okay? Wars are fought over religion. No other war has been fought over more than that of religion. Over in Africa right now is a prime example of this. The Middle East is another prime example. Okay? But when we're talking criminal activities, a lot of things that are associated with Satanism and the image of a Satanism is that they dress head to toe in black, that they commit crimes such as devastation of grave sites, of, say, for an example, robbing graves. Okay. Unfortunately, this is associated with the tales and the play done by Dr. Faust. Okay, back in the 15th century. In the Bouchard, okay, or the Bouchard, the Faustian deal was actually a play. Now, there's two different things that play a part here. One, there's a physical being that is similar to that of Lucifer's Raphael. Okay, the infernal scribe and pact maker, the most loyal lieutenant, the prime minister to Lucifer. Okay, and then you have that of Mephistopheles in Greek mythology. He is known as the pact maker. He's a trickster. Okay, now Mephistopheles is very similar and can make pacts happen. He's more interested in gaining something out of it, and he'll twist it no matter what. But here's the thing. He's only interested in your soul. It is always about the soul. It is always about making that deal. But he's very willing and open to make that deal. Whereas with Lucifer's Raphael, you actually have to work at calling him. You have to know how to do an invocation and an evocation, depending on what you're trying to do and how you want to go about it. You want to have your offering in place. You want to have your thoughts in place, and you want to have your deal in place, and you want to know what attracts him, what will bring him to your neck of the woods, okay, so that you can make that deal with him, okay. But people don't stop to think that there's a difference between occultism and that of the occult, okay. The occult is all about magic. It is about bettering yourself as an individual. It is about making commitments with gods and goddesses. You know, I'm talking about the old gods, not these new ones that are just being created out of somebody's ass. But, you know, and that's one of the reasons I like E.A. Koetting's group so much, and that of Frank White, that of Sumner Dredwood, S. Connolly Reeser, As F. Mason, and Bill and all these others, like, you know, because they're actually doing the work. They're delving into the myths, the legends, and they're taking it back to the beginning. And they're showing the world what magic really is, what these gods were really about, how to get in touch with them. And they're not making all these these elaborate rituals of blasphemies. No, they're just showing you this is how you can make the pact. This is how you can contact the individual using these incense, these this setup of invocations and evocations. They're showing you what the gods and goddesses were about back in the day, not what they become because of the corruption of the church or what the corruption is of the conflict of interest between the various different religions. No, they're actually sticking to the facts. They're getting into what actually is, not what can be. And that's why I like them so much. And the other good thing about this is when you begin your journey into Satanism, you're going to find out that just like many people starting out on the left-hand path, when they get into Satanism, they think it's all about power. They think it's about blasphemy. It's about, look at me, I'm a badass, okay? But it's not until they actually set roots. It's not until they literally get serious about their practices that they discover that there's so much to Satanism in the left-hand path practices that they actually sit down. It's like, okay, I have to reevaluate who I am, what I'm about, and what I want to be about. Okay. This is what I was led to believe. This is what I thought it was about. Especially when working with these gods, these demons, these angels who have been bastardized, these beings who had been demonized because of the church. So then they start digging into the demons, the myths, the lores, and they start seeing, okay, this is who they are now. But there's a whole list of things that I didn't know about. Okay. And this is what happens with a lot of adepts, a lot of neophytes, and a lot of acolytes that get into any branch of the mystical arts. And then you start surrounding yourself with people of actual knowledge. And you're going to find out that in this case, you're going to find people that will lead you down the wrong path. But then you'll see people who are actually showing you the methods. They're teaching you the methods. Some will charge for their knowledge, like say books. But that's one thing when you're selling a product. But like E.A. Koetting once said in a video, he said, I don't charge about 80% of the time. Doing this video is free. Giving you consultations is free. Giving you these updates and sharing this knowledge is all free. But putting forth an actual book and publicizing a book, that is not free. Okay? Like any business, when you take up somebody's time, they're basically charging for that time. Okay? So you really want to delve into that aspect. Now, as for black magic and getting into actual deities and getting into the actual practices, okay, once you've learned that there's more to your practices and to separate the myths and facts about a cult versus the occult, and you start delving into the practices on a serious level, then you can start making commitments, building relationships with angels, demons, and all these old gods, okay? And then you'll find out that there's dedication, okay? There's not just a dedication is something where you dedicate yourself to a particular path or a specific type of rituals and magical practice. Then you have what is called the how should I say this? The glorification aspect, I guess you can call it, where you're making these deals, you're making the commitments, and you're building relationships with the gods and goddesses. You're getting serious, you're learning, and you're delving into the arts. You're bringing forth people of like-minded individuality. into your world. It could be fellow practitioners where you're thinking about bringing into play a coven setting, a satanic coven, a pagan coven, or a Wiccan coven, whatever. Okay. And you're delving into this process and you're learning about the deities. You're conjuring them, you're evoking them, you're invoking them. Okay, depending if you want to bring them internally or into your altar room. Okay, in a physical manifestational process, you're creating pacts with them. You're building a relationship with them on a personal level between you and them. Okay, it could be just you and them as a solitary practitioner, or if you get a group going, you're raising more energy. You're raising more energy to create a relationship and a bond with these individuals through a coven setting. Okay. And a lot of people are looking forward to covens. They're trying to set forth orders and temples and churches. Okay. But when you get into that aspect, then it becomes more about them and it becomes more biased. And it's not about the gods anymore. It's not about the religious aspect. It's not about the bigger picture. It becomes a business. It becomes my way or the highway type aspect, that mentality. Okay. But once you get into the second stage, the dedication process, the glorification, or the apprenticeship is what I call it. Okay, then you can get into the actual beginning. You're learning from them. You're learning from these masters in the arts. Okay, such as those of the Black magicians of E.A. Quetting, Curtis Joseph, S. Connolly Reeser, Asenath Mason, Frank White, you know, Sumner Stregwood, you know, from the and myself and other people who are serious and been around for a very, very long time and are sharing the references so that you can go out and get them. You can actually take the references and go out to your own research. Okay, this is what apprenticeship is. This is what the aspect of becoming serious within your mind frame of magical practices. No matter if you're a Satanist, a Druid, a Gypsy, Voodoo, Hoodoo, Santeria, Palo Mayumbi, Umbanda, Quimbanda, whatever practice that fits you as the individual. This is where you become serious and start making these relationships, these commitments, and learning from everybody. Okay. But like I said, you do want to watch out because there are individuals out there who will lead you down the wrong path. Okay. Look at VK Johanna. He believed Telia Curtis and the lies that she was spewing. And then he had to turn around and apologize like a man right here on YouTube to those that he went after because he was fed the wrong information. Okay. He was given misinformation. Okay. But then when you get into the actual practicing and the life force of your commitments, you start creating a path working. And this is what I call this is what is called normally called the path of confirmation or the constitution, type commitment, is where you actually make it your world, your way of life. Okay. In this aspect, it is because you choose to further your education. You choose to work with these, and it's confirmation. Is that the it is the aspect of you furthering your career as a magician, as a career Black magician, a sorcerer. But it does come down to you if you wish to stay in the muck with everyone else, or if you want to become great and rise above everyone else. Okay? It is a path of power. It is a path of knowledge. It is a path of wisdom, understanding. It is about self-improvement. And this is what Satanism is. It's about you as the individual and what you want to make it to be. But does it have anything to do with blasphemy and criminal activity? The answer is no. And one of the questions that has been coming up to me lately by some new students of mine is, and I'll be talking about this more in depth later tonight once I get home from work, is getting into the practices of hexing and cursing and cleansings and committing yourself to certain acts, okay, of magical practice, and such as, like I said, hexing, cursing, cleansings, and baptisms, and a whole bunch of other varieties of path workings of how you present yourself, how you do your workings, okay, and how you deal with the responsibilities and of both your actions and the consequences of what you put forth. Okay. So later today, I am going to be doing that video on that topic alone. All right. So I'll be doing that around 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here on YouTube, and I will be sharing these videos on Facebook as well, on my Facebook page. Okay. Now, one of the things that I will tell you about Satanism is that it's a path of personal responsibility. Okay. Yes, you have a responsibility to the elements. Okay. You have a responsibility to those that you make deals with, that you make pacts with, such as angels or demons, the jinn. Okay. When you make it, when you give your word, your oath, you are held accountable if you break that oath, that vow. Okay. But also, if you do something like, say, a curse or a hex, and say something goes wrong during that, you have to be the one to take personal accountability. Okay. And you'll see that a lot of people today literally are throwing curses and hexes out there, and they will go against their own rules, their own regulations, because of the fact that that's what they've been led to believe. They've gotten butthurt. Somebody has told them no, or you basically outdid them with knowledge. You basically showed references, facts, hard evidence that this is what it actually is. And they get hurt over that. They'll kick you out of groups. They will kick you out of, they will sit there and gangbang you by breaking the rules, bullying, trying to force you to submit to their way of thinking. A strong adept in the foundations of magic will stick to the facts. They will stick to what they know. They will stick to the evidence because they've done the homework. They have it right there with all the references within as many foundations as possible. Okay. When I was in The Serpent of the Grail, or The Children of the Serpent, rather, founded by Talia Curtis, we got into a conversation about the political aspects. She claimed that Satanism is not a protected religion. And what's ironic is I actually had the United States Constitution, the First Amendment of freedom of religion, right in my lap. And I took photos of it and showed her point blank that not only is it a protected religion, because it has a foundation, it has a body, it has doctrine, okay? Therefore, it is considered a religion, and therefore it is a protected religious movement, just like Christianity, just like Islam, just like paganism, Wiccan, and Wicca, Umbanda, Voodoo, Hoodoo. It is a personalized religious movement because you have doctrine, because you have a foundation, okay, and because it has a body, okay. Read the First Amendment, and you'll understand what I mean by this. Okay, it's called the freedom of religion. And if you go underneath religious land use and personalized religious acts, and you scroll down to equal terms, you'll see exactly what I mean by personalized religious acts. That no other sect, organization, or individual has a right to limit or deny your freedom of religion, your words, your path. Okay? And that's what a lot of people are doing on Facebook, but people forget that Facebook is an American company. Therefore, they are held accountable to the American laws, the federal laws. Okay? They will remove your posts. They will sit there and close down your groups if somebody reports them. And it has to be you who sits there and confronts Facebook on their wrongdoing and set the record straight. It is a path of solidarity. It is a path of hardship. Satanism is not for the weak of heart, the faint of heart, because it is a solitary path. It is a path of a hermit. Does it mean you can't have a family? No. But it is also a path of the Hierophant. Okay? It is a path of the magician. It is a path of the Lord or the Empress, the priest and priestess. Okay? You can have a path of a coven. You can have a path of an individual. Satanism has many offspring. It has many different divisions. But you have to know where the gods and goddesses come from, where they hail from. You have to know what they're about. But you also have to make that pledge and make that dedication, those pacts, those deals, and hold to them. But you also have to know your personal rights, but also the rights of the companies that you work for, that you're affiliated with, because each one is mandated by a certain thing. The Ramsey Law protects companies and businesses, whereas the United States Constitution of Religious Freedom, such as the First Amendment, is protected by the Department of Justice. The American Civil Liberties Union protects you as the individual. Both of those two protect you, whereas the Ramsey Law protects the companies. But then you have to look at local, state, and federal laws, okay? These are broken down from borough to borough, district to district, but also the local laws such as the state versus the nation or the national law, okay? Because you have local law versus federal. And each one of these is different. Just like in Africa, in one tribe, black magic and white magic is considered to be legal. Whereas in another tribe, black magic is outlawed. It's frowned upon. Think Christianity versus left-hand path practices. Okay? So you see where that plays into effect. Okay? So really delve into the practices, learn your rights, learn the deities, learn the history, the mythologies. Start getting into the works. Do it for yourself, not because somebody told you to. Do it for yourself. All right? And like I said, I hope to see you back here about 7:30 Eastern Time tonight. And I will actually get into part 3 of this, which is the physical workings of Satanism and demonic sorcery. All right? With that said, hope this has been educational. Hope this has been enlightening. And a couple of references that I would recommend that you look into is look into works by the names of the authors that I've given you, such as S. Connolly Reese's books, Alistair Natch's works on theistic Satanism, Curtis Joseph on arraignment.
My name is Michelle Ford, and I just opened a brand new account because my other one was restricted.
On arraigning magic and black magic. Get into Myrmidon Pontifex Maximus and Vococlocus Aureax, who are traditional Satanists. They have works out. Anton Zanderleve, whose Satanic Bible is out there. You also have the Demonic Bible by Turk Suzej. And I believe you also have the theistic Bible system out there now called the Unholy Bible. The works of the Nine Kings and it's by the Black Pyrie as well. Very good books, by the way. A lot of information, and they hold true to a lot of the primary systems of demonolatry. such as those of the Goetia of Solomon Keys, the lesser keys of Solomon versus the major keys of Solomon. All right. So these are some authors that I would recommend that you look at too. If you can't really get to the books, go underneath YouTube. Stephanie Connolly has a YouTube channel. Orly Stewart has a YouTube channel. E.A. Coedding, Curtis Joseph have YouTube channels. Joseph Nunn, also known as Behemoth X, okay, has a YouTube channel. Alistair Notch has his own blog right here on YouTube, just like I do. Sumnus Dreadhood and the Cabal, okay, they have their own YouTube channel. Get into these. It's right here on YouTube. It's free. You can learn a lot from them. You can learn, take down notes. Look at the references. Listen to how they speak and what they speak on. And then go out and do your own research on those topics. Okay? Plain and simple. Look it up for yourself. Not because somebody told you to. Do it for yourself. Because Satanism is a path and a journey of personality. It is a personal path and journey for you as the individual, not the herd collective. All right? That's been this video on the second part. I got to get going because I got to go to work and I got a couple errands to run beforehand. And hopefully we'll see you back here at 7:30 tonight. All right? Enjoy. Have a good day. And try not to work too hard. All right? Have a good one. This Dark Sorcerer is out.